First of all, I think that whenever people were saying about there are English people available here, I think I was the only one, so apologies for any English presentations and when your eyes were turning. So I'm going to talk today about building on blockchain, but before going into that presentation, I'll try to keep it as short as possible. I would like to know who currently is developing or is working in a business that is actually either making a service or a product on blockchain. Please raise your hands to get an idea. Really cool. And who is interested in making a product using blockchain as technology? Okay. Okay, that's good to know. For the ones who are interested, maybe one or two or three of you, like what kind of industries are you in? Okay, and let me see, what industry are you in? Training industry. Okay, and one more, I think gaming, and you are in? Okay, oh, you're, okay, cool. So I think that's one of the biggest assets or actually one of the biggest interests of blockchain is the fact that you can adapt it to each industry. And that's also the reason of my presentation. Let me give you an introduction. 5 years ago, as 10 Cloud Software House, we got a first product, which was a Bitcoin payment gateway. We made it. We didn't know it was becoming bigger afterwards. The product completely failed because Bitcoin was going down like 10 times after that period. Never heard of that company anymore, but it was without knowing it, stepping into that industry. 2 years ago, we stepped in again. We did the full product development of a company who did, let's say, the digitalizing of assets in the art industry. And we said, well, you know, we did a blockchain project. Let's, you know, advocate, we're doing it. And it started with one lead a week, became 2 leads a week. At some point, it became 5 leads a day, without some saying just like, we want to do something like Ethereum does, please help us. Easy. And that was for me a reason to think about like, okay, what are the biggest questions that are popping up when people come towards us, either that are already having a product, they want to ship it towards using blockchain as a let's say, a technology to make things better, or to say like, I want to start an industry either as a startup or an enterprise, a creator, entrepreneur, researcher, and all kinds of different questions popped up. So we want to summarize a little bit like what the biggest challenges were for them and what kind of solutions we offered in that way. We're currently working with some startups. One of them is AdShares, which is a very cool Polish startup, but also TrustStamp, Omisa, Unibright, and we're doing all kinds of different things for them. So that makes it very interesting to see what kind of points of view you can have on it. First off, why blockchain? I don't want to go actually into it anymore because it was perfectly explained in Polish, I assume, because I only could read the slides in English, but in the first presentation. But the way I see it, and I got a very nice summary in a presentation from someone else, like a couple of events before. It's you had internet, and they said we're going to transform the world, and what shopping is today is not going to be shopping anymore tomorrow. And actually, it's still shopping, but now it's just online. And I see blockchain is going to do something very similar. It's not going to transform the world we know it, and shopping what we know today is not going to be shopping tomorrow, but it's going to stimulate and give a more easier and faster approach in doing the way we things do now, basically. Why are people going for blockchain? It was already mentioned a lot of times. The no central authority, so remove your bank, remove your government if you want to, remove Google AdWords, who always take way too big commissions anyways. The speed of transactions, the immutability and security, you cannot tamper with the data once it's out there. Transparency and cost reduction. Cost reduction, they're still challenging that, but think already about the fact that you don't have a third party in between who asks for 30% or 8% of fee in everything you do. Okay, so what are the struggles that we came towards? I tried to make a summary of the biggest struggles the company had when they approached us. You can actually categorize it in 2 very different approaches. One is a general one, what skills are actually needed in order to get where I want to go to as an Ambrosis, as in AdShares or whatsoever. The second one is what is actually the right blockchain technology for me? Is it an Ethereum? Is it a Bitcoin? Etc. Third, or second of it is the specific cases that we got, like how do I tokenize new asset classes? How do I remove these third parties that we talk about, like a bank or an institution? And how do I optimize processes between multiple organizations? The thing I mentioned these three is because you can adapt them to each industry, both gaming, both education, both in the legal sector, wherever you go. So that's what I want to discuss in this presentation. So first off, development team structure. Already was a presentation before about ICOs, which was a very proper one of, let's say, summarizing everything that is out there. But once you got your ICO going, you got your funding ready, or perhaps you don't need an ICO because you have enough private funding. What is the team that you need? First off, you have your classic development team. It sounds easy, but it's also hard to get. The right development team is very crucial in everything you do. You can go to whatever in India and do it in 2 years or 3 years' time, or perhaps a proper in-house team to make things happen. But the 3 additional things that you need in order to make your product, let's say, connect to blockchain is the following: a blockchain architect, so the ones who actually think about the right use case that you have and need to use blockchain for, and the token economics around it. For me, personally, and when talking with companies, this is actually the hardest guy to get, because it's someone who already at least needed to do 1 or 2 or 3 projects beforehand and are most of the time very mathematical guys. Secondly is a smart contract developer, creating your smart contracts that talk to the blockchain, say what actually should be in there. And the dApp developer, so the one that makes sure that the smart contract talks to your product on the back-end side or the front-end side, who talks to the back-end and therefore to the smart contract, therefore to the blockchain. Okay, selecting the right blockchain. Selecting the right blockchain, where you have to think about first is scalability. You need to make sure that if you do a lot of small transactions for a payment system, or for example in the gaming industry, when you want to have a lot of small things that you want to in your platform want to, let's say, transfer to each other. These are a lot of small things, but each small transfer of money or each small transfer of an asset costs additional fee. If it has to scale up very fast or very fast, then scalability is still an issue, but they're trying to solve it. Secondly is the support of the blockchain community. If you choose a little bit more unknown blockchain technology and it doesn't have the right community, it's very risky, because you don't know where it will be in 1 year, and you can say like, I did my product on here, and 1 year it wouldn't be there anymore. Thirdly, it needs to fit with the tech stack of your product development. If you already have a product, is there an SDK out there for the language that you use, or isn't it? Otherwise, it doesn't really make sense to even start there, or you would have to redo part of your product. What use case will drive transactions? Is it a voting system? Is it payments? Whatsoever, you need to really think about, okay, what do I actually want to achieve with the blockchain I'm using? And the last of all is private or public. Is there anyone who doesn't know what private or public blockchain is? Everybody knows? Perfect. Okay, great. There was actually one interesting thing I heard 1 week ago about private or public. Everybody knows what intranet is? Yeah, so there used to be internet and intranet, and there were a lot of corporates who used intranet because they were very risky about internet. It was open, it was for everybody, it was decentralized. What if my information would come to the right or to the wrong stakeholder? So there was intranet, which would safeguard it, but now nobody uses intranet anymore. And this person, it was I think a person from Deloitte who was in innovation department, said it's going to be the same with private and public networks or blockchains. So private is like a step in between for large enterprises to say, okay, we want to test it, we want to step into it, and once we know it's safe, we'll probably all go to a public blockchain anyways. But it was a very interesting thought, and I just wanted to share it. Okay, yeah. Sure. Definitely, yeah. And in what way would you see user experience as the most crucial factor? Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah. No, definitely. And I think that is one of the things that most, I would say, startups are looking at really now, like how do we make it very accessible for everybody who is not a blockchain expert, basically. Although experts are not really there because it's such a new industry in that regard, so everybody's still learning. Okay, so how do I tokenize new asset classes? I think the most everybody knows what an ICO is. That's where you get your money. It's the most interesting, it's the most high part of using blockchain because it's a very fast way of getting your money. A second way to do it is, for example, is actually, one nice craze is, there was in May, there was a CryptoKitties, which was a digital kind of asset, which was a horrible painting. It was sold for, I don't know, $120,000 or whatsoever in New York. And there are a lot of you who probably invested in cryptocurrency before. It's now dropping down. And what you want to do is you want to actually invest in actual assets before it goes down all along the way and there's nothing left of your money anymore. And therefore, how do I tokenize new asset classes is very interesting. Why is that? Commodities are becoming very important. There are a lot of startups who say, like, transfer whatever you have in cryptocurrency and buy gold because it's stable. So you buy at a high point, all the cryptocurrencies go down, and then when it goes up again, I can always sell my gold again. Another one is DAI, for example. But what also happens is the art industry. So there are a lot of individuals that you can actually approach very easily in the art industry to buy actual assets like paintings. So what happened is we got the first challenge: how do I sell art through blockchain? Challenges that we faced: how do I tokenize a painting? It's like real, I have it in my hands. What now? How can we make investment accessible for all these individual crypto investors? Thirdly, what choice do I take for a blockchain? And fourthly is, how do I store all these assets? We're going to go quickly through them. I can share it afterwards as well. But Ethereum was the one that we chose back in the day. Why? It enables assets to be instantly tradable or decentralized exchanges. And to be honest, Ethereum is just, in that case, the most supported one. Assets can be controlled by smart contracts. So you say, my painting is green, it's from this artist. It needs to weigh that, and these kind of metadata you can find back. And I know exactly whose painting it was, where it's being sold, who's the ownership of that. And you can arrange all these kind of factors in a smart contract, which makes it very interesting. And users only need Ethereum to trade. And like you already mentioned, MetaMask is a very adapted, let's say, tool for everybody to very quickly buy things and sell things with Ethereum. Secondly, how do I remove these third parties and optimize my market? Who of you uses Google AdWords for your company? 2, 3. Yeah, I think that, I'm not sure, but I think Google AdWords has a fee of like 30+% on top of whatever you communicate back and forth if you sell advertisements. So we were talking with a company called AdShares, and they said, fuck Google, we want to be in between, we want to do a peer-to-peer platform, we want Google out of there and directly sell and trade without high fees, and they have like a 0.1 fee right now. So what they did, and you can also adapt it, of course, to finance, removing the bank, insurance, removing insurance company, logistics, removing the port, for example, is we wanted to decentralize the way of communication without Google AdWords. We wanted to provide a safe method for payment because you still need some kind of guarantee that what you get is what you pay for. You want to have transaction speed because we're talking about micropayments, like you can buy cost per click, for $1. And if then you have an Ethereum currently in fee, it's quite pricey to do it. And I want to keep anonymity in doing so. So what we did is we built a peer-to-peer platform. Advertisers only pay once they get the impression. This is handled through the smart contract. Publishers always have the ability to choose the most suitable ads for their website, so they can select exactly what their target groups are, just as with Google. And they actually created their own blockchain ECC, Enterprise Service Chain, which should handle all those micropayments. We'll see. They started in August, so I guess in upcoming months we'll see the beta version actually work or not. Last one is, how do I optimize processes between several organizations? Also this one, you can adapt to healthcare. You have like your health documents, so your doctor writes down when you have a broken leg, when you have a head injury or whatsoever, and it's shared with other authorities. What happens if you lose that data to other parties that shouldn't have it? It's data you don't want to have shared. But also, for example, law enforcement. There is a company that we work with who does child trafficking solutions, in the way that if a child is found, then you have a family on the other side of the world who uploaded somewhere a photo to an instance there, a legal instance, and somehow you need to connect that child with that one picture somewhere on the other side of that world. And the verification of that takes days. It goes through at least, I don't know, 5+ instances to verify if that is the person that sees data, and we don't even know yet if that's the person. And at the other side, the way that people store it right now is a very insecure way of doing it. So this company had the problem, how do we aid victims of human trafficking and resolve human trafficking cases faster, but without reaching or breaching personal information? So they came up with a solution. What was the solution is they have a biometric system. So that means they measure your face basically and they make a 3D print out of it. Then if I, for example, find a kid in America or South America, I don't know why I use that example, I think that most kidnaps just happen there. So if in Mexico I find a kid and I don't know who the parents are, I make a picture of the kid. I send it through all the instances through a hash. That hash finds the right metadata towards that head. And then it verifies only if it finds that specific measurements in a picture somewhere, I don't know, in the Netherlands where I'm from, or from Poland where the kid was found missing. And only when it's confirmed, you get a message, a notification, hey, it's done, it's this instant, please go there. So no other instance will know the data of that kid. No one else needs to know about it. And at the same time, it goes in a day instead of in multiple weeks where you have to contact each individual institute. So they're using a private blockchain. They're thinking about, I think, a Hyperledger Fabric right now. And the pictures are still stored centralized by the organizations themselves, but they're thinking about other solutions. And I think it's a very social case in whether blockchain is a very good use case. I think I did it in 15, 20 minutes. What I just want to give as a purpose of this is just to say that each case can be adapted to so many industries, and that if you think really well, there is a blockchain used for almost each case. But at the other side, think first about the solution you want to give, and then think about if blockchain is at the end the best solution for doing it, instead of thinking, I want to do blockchain, but I don't know where to start. And I hope this gives you a handle. If you want to have more information or questions, shoot me a message or speak to me afterwards. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.